These unborn human beings finally will be protected under law. Millions, potentially, will be saved because of the end of this Roe regime. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. The Supreme Court of the United States has ended the national nightmare thrust upon us by the Roe decision of the Supreme Court in the early 70s. But the decision is no more. It has been overturned. Roe and its progeny, Casey, as it's been called. So the court has found that the Constitution doesn't provide you a right to procure an abortion. And now what that means is that the states and potentially the federal government can now move, and some already have, states have moved to protect unborn human beings. The states can start to protect the lives of unborn human beings, which is what they did before Roe came in and ordered a pro-abortion regime here in the United States. And thank God that President Trump was able to appoint these justices. And the decision, depending on how you read it, essentially was 5 Supreme Court justices voted to overturn Roe versus Wade completely. Justice Roberts, or Chief Justice Roberts, was out there. It's not clear what his decision would have meant, whether it was a technical overturning of Roe or not, but that doesn't matter. The fact is, Roe is no more. I was up at the Supreme Court earlier today with my colleagues. We were taking some pictures, getting a feel for the scene. A lot of pro-abortionists were out there protesting. And the wonderful thing is, they're now at the wrong place. The threats, the intimidation, the lies targeted at the Supreme Court didn't work. And now the debate will go to where it's supposed to go in our constitutional republic, to the states and Congress where appropriate, as to figuring out how to protect the public interest in the right to life of unborn human beings. Now, the left thinks that public interest is zero, zilch. And of course, many Americans disagree with that. So the question is, do you want to protect the lives of all unborn human beings? The lives of most unborn human beings? The lives of some unborn human beings? Or the lives of no unborn human beings? Now, we know where the Biden administration stands on that, and the radical leftists. But now virtually every politician in the land will have to answer that question. And you, dear citizen, will have to answer that question for yourself, because you will have a chance to influence this debate. Now, as I said, some states are already moved to undo Roe and protect lives. And what a great day this is for the American people. And I think this should be a holiday in the future where we celebrate the end of this terrible stain on America, which was abortion on demand throughout the entire 9 months of pregnancy. Now, many states will continue to allow their citizens to kill their unborn offspring, and others who come into that state. So, this debate is not over, but now we can at least begin to defend the right to life to millions. And when I was a little kid, I came down here with my parents. My first visits to Washington, D.C. were for pro-life marches here in town. And I tell you, my wife and I were crying this morning, of tears of joy, that these unborn human beings finally will be protected under law. Millions, potentially, will be saved because of the end of this Roe regime. And think of all those pro-life activists over the last 50 years who have fought to preserve and protect unborn life, to help pregnant mothers who are desperate straits and help them choose life. Now those opportunities will abound in miraculous ways. And I have to hand it to Justice Alito, who with Justice, and let's name the heroes of the day: Justice Alito, Justice Thomas, Justice Gorsuch, Justice Kavanaugh, Justice Barrett. They stood fast in the face of, as I say, these threats and overturned Roe versus Wade. Now the leaked opinion, the draft opinion, is largely here. It's been expanded. You can see, I think it's a 213-page opinion when you count. You have the draft, you have the majority opinion, then you've got 2 concurrences, if I recall, from Justice Thomas and Justice Roberts, or maybe 3 with Justice Kavanaugh, and then, of course, the unhinged pro-abortion opinion by the justices appointed by Clinton and Obama, Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan. But the fact is, Roe is over. And let me just read a key portion of, well, I'm going to read our statement because, I could be all over the place. I'm excited and happy, but let's focus on what needs to be done, and let's place all of this into context. This is a day to celebrate life. 5 Supreme Court justices today stood strong in the support of the Constitution by overturning Roe. Now states can again extend the protection of law to the precious lives of unborn human beings. Americans will mourn, and I know I do, the tens of millions of human beings, over 60 million, lost to abortion on demand under the Roe regime. But Americans will soon rejoice, and I know I will, for the millions who will live thanks to Roe being thrown into the dustbin of history. Justice Alito's opinion is one for the ages and simply holds it is time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives. And the opinion concludes that procuring an abortion is not a fundamental constitutional right because such a right has no basis in the Constitution's text or in our nation's history. The decision affirmed Roe was egregiously wrong and was an abusive exercise of raw judicial power. In many ways, this decision today, overturning Roe, is an anti-judicial corruption decision. It has fixed a judicial abuse. So as you see, today's decision begins to undo Roe's damage to the nation. Simply put, abortion ends a human life, and it's incompatible with a civil or moral society. The lives of unborn human beings must be protected in every state. States should immediately act to protect the lives of unborn human beings, and Congress should also move to protect unborn lives at the federal level. For example, Congress should move to stop, as we've exposed, in the least, federal funding for the trafficking of fetal organs harvested from human beings killed by abortion. This heroic decision, by the way, comes down shortly after Justice Kavanaugh was almost assassinated as a foreseeable result of this president's and his leftist allies' despicable intimidation campaign against the Supreme Court to protect the abortion-on-demand regime. That criminal leak, the illegal protests, the threats, they didn't work, though. Justices Thomas, Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Barrett held firm for the rule of law, and they'll go down in history for their bravery. Americans can expect an escalation, though, of the terror campaign by pro-abortionists against the justices, pro-life centers that help pregnant mothers, and Catholic and other Christian churches that support the right to life. Rather than allowing illegal protests at the homes of Supreme Court justices and paying little attention to the terror campaign to date, the Biden Justice Department must act to address this crisis now and protect lives and property. And state and local law enforcement should also focus on the escalating threats to pregnancy centers, pro-life advocates, and churches. Now, Judicial Watch we're pro-life in our attitude. We've done some excellent work in the pro-life area, exposing information about RU 486 that the Clinton administration was trying to hide related to its safety and other issues with it. We have exposed the horrors of fetal organ trafficking paid for with your tax dollars. We've exposed the attacks on the First Amendment rights of pro-life protesters. So Judicial Watch, as you may know, filed an amicus brief, a friend of court brief with the court, and they agreed with one of our key points, is that the Supreme Court under Roe did not have the authority to overturn the abortion laws of the various states. And I encourage you, as a citizen, to read this opinion. I want you to go through and read it. It's brilliant by Justice Alito. And when you see the egregious corruption in the Roe court, you'll see what I mean when I say this is an anti-corruption decision. It restores the rule of law. It protects the Constitution. And so now we have opportunities, as I said, to protect the right to life. Judicial Watch, of course, will continue to use the tools available to us under the law to expose the pro-abortion horrors that we've seen, for instance, in organ trafficking, and seek ways to better defend and expand the right to life of all human beings. And let me just say this about Judicial Watch's role in this case. I would submit to you that we have this decision in large measure thanks to Judicial Watch. Let me explain. Judicial Watch began the most important independent investigation by a non-governmental organization in American history. It was the investigation of Benghazi. Long story short, that investigation led to Judicial Watch uncovering Hillary Clinton's secret emails. And Hillary Clinton's obstruction and corruption and criminality related to those emails all came to a head during the presidential campaign. We didn't plan it that way. We didn't know what was going on with Clinton's emails until they finally admitted they had all these emails they hadn't searched. And as a result of those disclosures in those emails and the evident corruption of Hillary Clinton's involvement in that email cover-up, the destruction of evidence, the lies, all of that, the consequence of that was that she didn't win the presidency. Because if she had won the presidency, you would never have had a majority of Supreme Court justices to overturn Roe. So that's, I don't want to overstate it, but the fact is that these corruption investigations by Judicial Watch have consequences beyond just the immediate information and the education that results from the American people hearing about it. There's accountability in a rough justice sort of way, because sometimes voters say, I don't like what Judicial Watch found about this politician, and I'm going to vote one way versus the other. That's the reality of it. Now, we don't do it to make sure you vote one way versus the other. We just put it out there. And people draw their own conclusions. And they drew their own conclusions about Hillary Clinton. She wasn't president. President Trump was elected, and he appointed Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Comey Barrett, and they provided the key votes to overturn Roe versus Wade. So millions of lives are now going to be saved as a result of the president's choices, President Trump's choices, that he was able to make in large measure because of the consequences of the corruption investigation and Hillary Clinton's and our uncovering of Hillary Clinton's emails. There you have it. So that's one of the secret histories that the media probably won't get into, or frankly many other people won't get into, because they don't understand that this is a long ball game, folks. And I know it's frustrating not to get certain people prosecuted or pursued adequately. And I agree with you 100% on that. And of course, President Trump himself was terribly abused. No other president has been abused like President Trump. And if I could talk to him directly about this, I would tell him, I know you've been through terrible abuse, and you still are being abused. But let me suggest that the lives of the unborn babies that will be saved as a result of your decision making and your commitment to life, I hope is a significant solace to you, because there are millions of lives that will be born because of President Trump and those who've helped him, Vice President Pence, the senators who placed these justices on the court. Senator McConnell, I haven't been a fan of him recently, but the fact is he got these justices on the court. He had these Republicans standing firm to get these justices on the court. And of course, you know, we were out there pushing to get these justices on the court because Judicial Watch believes that the only justices who should be on the court are those who are committed to upholding the Constitution as it's supposed to be upheld by judges, and not, we don't need judges who are going to legislate from the bench on behalf of liberal activist positions. So I celebrate life today. You should celebrate life this week and today as well. The left, unfortunately, as I said, is going to probably get violent here. So we'll have to suffer through that, and hopefully law enforcement will take appropriate action. I don't trust this Biden administration to do much. But this is a great day for America. And I encourage you to get even more active on this issue because, as I said, lives are at stake. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.